Hey guys, welcome back to the workshop. This is the first video in a three-part series that we're making called How to Make Money Sharpening Knives. We're going to talk to three different experts who have all made money by sharpening knives. The first, we're going to talk to Dexter Ewing, who runs a small knife sharpening business in the Winston-Salem area, North Carolina. Well, thanks, Dexter, for joining us. For those of you tuning in, this is Dexter Ewing. He owns his own knife sharpening business and is a field editor for Blade Magazine, a longtime member of the knife and knife sharpening community, and a longtime friend of WorkSharp. Dexter, thanks for joining us and for spending some time here.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I'm looking at your current setup behind you, obviously. You've got, I see three, I think you run 4 different blade grinding attachments.
Well, I do actually. I've been experimenting now, and this is what I was talking about earlier with experimentation. I've been actually running 3. I still have 4. The fourth one is just tucked in behind the bench here, but I'm running 3 because I have come to the conclusion that leaving a slightly toothier edge is best for performance for the customers I sharpen for. So therefore, I'm actually using only 3 belts.
Which, real quick, which belts do you run on those 3 to create the edge that you like?
Okay, well, I've got the P80, and this is the progression here that I'm doing when I sharpen a knife. Now, actually, right out of camera range, I've got just a cheap Harbor Freight 1x30 belt sander that runs an 80 grit belt. I use this only for hogging off material. Let's say if somebody gives me a lot of dull kitchen knives that the edges are rounded, I basically take 1 pass each side, freehand, on this 1x30 belt sander, and that creates what I call a working edge. It's not even, but at that point, after I do 1 pass each side, it's sharp and it'll cut you. So I come on to the WorkSharp Canyon and I start to shape that convex edge. So the first belt here is the P80. Second belt here is the X65, and I finish up on the X22. Now, the thing about it is, with the X22, at that stage, all I'm interested in is removing the burr. So I'm actually letting the weight of the blade sit on the belt. So I'm mainly using it with one hand. Usually on these two, I have my dominant hand, which is my right hand, or left hand, depending on which side. I'm gripping the handle, and then I'm taking my offhand and I'm placing it sort of close to the tip just to stabilize it so that it doesn't jump around on the belt. When I get here, I'm only using one hand because I'm just going to lay the blade on the belt and just let it just kind of lightly skim across that. And then finally, I rigged up a metal carabiner with a threaded eye hook on the end of my workbench, which I have a leather strop. So every knife gets stropped manually on this. Yeah. So that's how I finish up. So this gives a very nice, sharp, and uniform convex edge. Mm-hmm. And kitchen knives, I'm generally doing them at 20. Now I will do it at any angle that customer requests, but if they don't request it, I do it at 20 because I feel like for a kitchen knife, 20 degrees is a good balance between sharpness as well as durability. Mm-hmm. For regular knives, hunting knives, I'm doing at 22. So, yeah, that's the belts that I'm using here. And
a little bit more on the business side of this. So one of the things that you've done, I guess more recently or kind of pre-COVID times, was sharpening at Whole Foods, at a local Whole Foods there in the Winston-Salem area.
Yeah.
When you do that, I have 2 questions. Does Whole Foods pay you to come in, or do the individuals pay, or is it just something that you do as a volunteer to get your name out there?
It is something that is paid. Basically, they pay me an hourly rate to come into the store, and that way they can offer free sharpening to the customers. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some that have insisted I take tips. Maybe they tip me $5, and that's fine. I don't ask for tips, but the main benefit for me is to be seen and to advertise my business and get my name out there. But And also, you know, when I have 3 or 4 work sharps sitting on the table, I mean, I can just set them out on the table there, right by the registers, right in front of the registers, not plug anything in, and just sit there at the table. And you wouldn't believe the attention that these things just draw. I mean, people ask, what are these? And of course, the guys who are familiar with power tools, you know, they're curious, you know, as to how they work and everything like that, what type of edge it puts on and stuff like that. So it strikes up good conversation. People start asking questions as to, you know, what these machines are, how well they work, and what can you sharpen on them and stuff like that. So at that point, you know, I turn into the work sharp pitch man. So I give them a little synopsis on basically how they work for kitchen knives, scissors, and serrated knives and stuff like that. And you know, a lot of people find it just interesting because they've never really seen a sharpener such as these here. They're always familiar with like what their grandfather used, you know, just a regular whetstone, or maybe they even have a Lansky at home or whatever have you, but they haven't really seen anything such as this here. So yeah, but getting back to your question here, this has been a wonderful opportunity to get out into the community because the Whole Foods, typical Whole Foods customer is going to be somebody who is willing to pay for services. And what I mean by services, I mean anything lawn guy, pool guy, house cleaning, you know, stuff like that. They are the ones who would actually pay to have knives sharpened. So getting into the store and being seen gets me right there in front of my target market. The in-store is a really good idea for anybody who wants to advertise their sharpening services, see if they can actually set up in the store, because that's going to get you to be seen. And especially if these stores have community events where they might have some local vendors come to set up as well. This would be an opportunity to do that too. I know Whole Foods in the past has done community events, and they've invited me to set up there where they have a bunch of local vendors, local businesses that would set up and just advertise their products and sell their products and stuff like that. And then there's little old me over here with knife sharpeners. So, you know, it's really good to get in with a bigger business that supports the local business. So you want to, you know, target maybe like Whole Foods or hardware stores and stuff like that.
You've hinted at this a little bit, but like the value of the networking and community and sharpening. You said you also started sharpening some shears for the company you work at for your day job.
Yes.
That they use shears, and they found out that you had a sharpening business. And I
Yeah.
imagine just
Well,
networking with your community would bring you opportunities if you're vocal about this to kind of share your passion.
Well, it's just a byproduct of where I work. I mean, I work at a large medical school, and obviously a lot of our labs use surgical instruments. And you know, when you sit down and you price out some of these high-end surgical scissors, you know, the ones that are made in Germany, it's surprising. I mean, you can actually pay for one pair of scissors what you would pay for like a good high-end production tactical folder. That's, you know, about $300 for a pair. So to them, spending what I charge for sharpening them, I mean, that it's a no brainer for them. I mean, it's just a minor investment to keep their tools maintained properly and to be efficient at their jobs, what they do, to make their jobs easier. But yeah, it's very important to network. Now, this is something that I never pushed on myself. It just happens to be that because I know a lot of people on my day job, just due to my job function, and people hear that I'm interested in knives and sharpening, and they're like, "Hey, can you sharpen these scissors?" And then, yes, I can. And word just starts spreading around. People start talking and say, "Hey, you know, you need these scissors sharpened. You know, ask Dexter next time he comes by your lab." And so that's how it got started. And that's a kind of a niche sharpening that I've really it's really taken off for me. It's not something that I pursued, but I've gone with the flow of that. And it comes on the heels of the networking that I have done for my day job. Something that's been really fun for me. I mean, it's not that I don't enjoy knives, but I'm one of those who likes a challenge when it comes to sharpening. And I saw this as a challenge. And the more scissors that I've done over the years, the more I've seen that there's a certain technique involved here. And I've done a lot of experimenting every time that I sharpen a batch. And I think now at this point, I have arrived at a system that I use every time when I sharpen. And it's given me the most consistent results that I've ever had all these years. So again, practice.
Like, what do you charge for a standard chef's knife? Do you charge by the knife? Do you charge by the inches? Do you look at it and say, wow, that needs a whole new tip ground on it? Let's, that's going to take some additional work.
Right.
How do you price it?
Well, I approach it with just doing it per knife. And how I do it is $5 each for paring knives, and any knives that are larger than paring knives, which are, slicers, and of course all your chef's knives, santokus and stuff like that. Those get 10 each. And then serrated knives, I do 5. Scissors, I do 5 per pair. Now, you mentioned tip repairs. I can do tip repairs on any kitchen knife. Those generally I assess $5 extra. Let's say if somebody gives me a whole set of kitchen knives and the chef's knife has a broken off tip that they would like to have repaired, and they make that known to me, and I say, well, this is going to be $15. I'm going to charge you 10 for sharpening and 5 for the repair. And they say, okay, well, just go forward with that. And let's say if there's also a pair of scissors that are in the mix too. If when I do the math, if I can sneak in the pair of scissors for free, I'll do that. I do some sort of discount for quantity work, and also for friends too. I mean, hey, we like to give our friends a little break and everything. So, in general, with a large sharpening order, I try to see exactly what I can do extra for them, as hey, thank you for your business.
Just 1 minute left here to wrap up. Any advice you would give to somebody starting out a knife sharpening business? What's the first thing to do? Is it practice? Is it to utilize your network? Is it something else?
Well, obviously the first thing to do is to be confident of your sharpening skills, and also to have the proper equipment in place. The next thing, and this is the biggest hurdle, and even I'm struggling with this now, advertising. Now, we have social media, which people make use of, but social media only has a limited reach. Print advertising is good, but it's also very costly. You have to pick the right publication that's going to target the market that you want to target. In doing so, I liken that to fishing. You're casting your line out there, and then you're seeing if you're getting any bites. If you don't get any bites, maybe you go to a different fishing hole. Same thing with publications. If you don't get a bite out of a certain publication, then go to your other one. But there again, we're talking about money out of your pocket that you're not recouping. So you're throwing money away with print advertising. Word of mouth is good too, but how do you get word of mouth? You get customers. Well, how do you get customers? Well, you get your name out. Again, this is tying back into the Whole Foods thing. Is if you can partner with a local business and get them to attract customers for you, and the visibility aspect, don't even inquire about pay at first. Just be persistent at getting yourself out there, out from where you're working, get out into the community. The word of mouth will come, because I'm fortunate now that I do have some local customers who have talked to other people, and other people have sought me out because of that. When you show that you're interested in sharpening and you do quality work and you're a good person to deal with, people will talk, and they'll talk very favorably, and they'll pass the word around for you even without you asking. So it's like karma. You do good, good will come back on you. And trust me, it will.
Well, for everyone watching, you can find Dexter in the Winston-Salem area of North Carolina, in case you're watching this and decide you would like your knives sharpened. And yeah, Dex, is there a number that they could call, or what's the best way for them to find you if they're looking for you?
Well, the best thing to do would be to email me. The email is wsknifesharp, it's all one word, at gmail.com.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Dexter. And I hope this is valuable to everybody else. It certainly is eye-opening for me to hear your story in this way.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for watching, and thanks again to Dexter for joining us.
In our next video, we'll be talking to Grizz, who owns a knife sharpening and knife making shop in Elgin, Texas. Grizz has a fantastic story. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching.